Good morning, Trump's family. Have a nice month, everyone, and God bless you. Thank you for always watching and subscribing to the channel. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news. It looks like Nancy Pelosi has been busy making some phone calls and threatening some people, because Fox News has been to the and went ahead and retracted some information that they had that was embarrassing to the Pelosi. That's right. They reported upon the intruder and Paul Pelosi been in their undergarments, and they were forced to retract that story. Pretty funny how that works, as this would be all cleared up. If we released the body cam footage and police officers in the security footage at the his residence, what are the chances maybe the security footage at the Pelosi residence had been paused for the interaction between Paul Pelosi and the other dude in his underpants? What are the likelihood of that actually taking place? I would say very high actually. Really the only security footage we might have is prior to the person coming over and after the police leave. That would probably be the extent of the security footage. Maybe what the police have on their body cam footage would be very helpful for this investigation. Unfortunately, it has now been investigated by the FBI and Capitol Police, so we know that there is not going to be any info that is going to be leaked, because it doesn't damage Republicans. So let's dive into it real quick here from Fox News over here. It says Fox News affiliate forced to retract report that Pelosi and Pepe were found in their underwear. Another Pelosi wrap-up smear. That's right. Bree. There continues to be a massive speculation about what took place at the Pelosi residence in San Francisco in the early morning of Friday. The San Francisco PD has given few details, and then were forced to come out and correct several of their previous statements. The Pelosi narrative is still being concocted in the back rooms and halls that house the powerful elites. Paul Pelosi, 82, husband of Nancy Pelosi, was violently attacked with a hammer, and San Fran David de Pepe, a Berkeley resident and former nudist, was arrested and named as a suspect in the attack. The San Francisco PD Chief of Police William Scott, briefed in media on the incident, said the officers were called onto the scene at 2:27 a.m. According to Chief Scott, Mr. Pelosi did not mention that threat when he contacted 911. The Gateway Pundit previously reported that the police officer described David as a friend in his dispatch call. Police dispatch stated there's a male in the home and that's he's going to wait for his wife. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is but advised that his name is David and that he is a friend, so there's the audio, you can check it out in the link. According to authorities, Pelosi was able to let the dispatcher know he needs help without alerting the intruder. To Pepe pulled the hammer away from Mr. Pelosi and violently assaulted him. When police showed up on the officer, Amelie tackled it. Pepe disarmed and took him into custody, and requested emergency backup and rendered medical aid. Scott added that both Pelosi and the Pepe were taken by ambulance to the local hospital. William Scott said that Pepe was booked on the charges attempted homicide and assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, burglary as several additional felonies. The charge for elderly abuse was added or was addressed by Greg Kelly, who noted that the elder abuse appears to apply to individuals who have a relationship. According to the reports, that suspect has not made a public statement or filed a plea. It was also reported that Pepe was only wearing his underwear at the time of the assault. KTVU-TV initially reported Pepe was in his underwear when arrested, but then removed the detail and added a correction saying they misstated what he was wearing. According to Heavy Doubt Let report, it's a no credible media outlet has reported that Pelosi was in his underwear. Right. So here the story of the attack on Populist. He has more questions and answers at this point on Sunday. The Gateway Pundit reported that FSFPD reportedly changed your story on how many people were into Pelosi home at the time in the early morning attack on Paul Pelosi. At Friday press conference of the chief said knock on the front door to door was opened by someone inside the offices deserve Paul Pelosi and David Pelosi or David Pepe wrestling over a hammer. The officers did not enter the home. Instead, they ordered to Bend to drop the hammer, and that Pepe then took control of the hammer and beat Pelosi with it. Sunday morning. NBC News reporter Tom Winter reported on Meet the Press there was a third person into Pelosi home at the time of the attack, and the Pepe had been able to get into Pelosi home, where Pelosi was anyway. Yeah, there you have it. Then for seeing them to retract the story to revise it. And how do you go from identifying someone who's in their underwear, and then all of a sudden now remembering they were fully clothed? How do you go from those two extremes? You don't? Because he would probably in his underwear. You don't see someone in their underwear and forget that they were in their underwear, forget that they were fully clothed when you saw them. When I see somebody that is fully clothed, I'm like, yeah, they were in their underwear, of course. Oh, no, I misremember. They were actually fully clothed. Who knew? Right? That is what they're trying to make the public believe as they tried to clean this up. So again, we're going to continue to keep our eye on the story. And then, some significant news, Democrats are also fighting mad over Elon Musk. And so they're using this latest incident with Paul Pelosi as evidence that Elon Musk is irresponsible and terrible person. So, Elon Musk tweeted out a story suggesting strange details with regard to the Pelosi attack. The Washington Post says Elon Musk and a wide range of right-wing personalities cobbled together misreporting, innuendo, and outright falsehoods to amplify misinformation about last week's violence and assault on paparazzi to their millions of online followers. A forum devoted to former White House advisor Stephen K. Bannon-as right-wing radio show alerted at 78,000 subscribers to quote very strange new details on Paul Pelosi attack. Roger Stone, longtime political consigliere to former President Donald Trump, took to the fast-growing messaging app Telegram to call the assault an alleged attack, telling his followers a stench surrounding mainstream reporting about the Friday break-in that left Pelosi hospitalized with a skull fracture and other serious injuries existed. The skepticism didn't stay in the right-wing echo chamber. He wrote on Sunday morning, quote, "There is a tiny possibility there might be more to the story than meets the eye." He pointed his 112 million followers to sensationalist accounts in the episode published by a site known for spreading right-wing misinformation before deleting the tweet several hours later. The rush to sow doubt about the assault on Pelosi's husband illustrates how aggressively influential figures on the right are seeking to dissuade the public from believing facts about the violence, seizing on the event to promote conspiracy theories and provoke distrust. Okay. So it is worth noting here that people should not be promoting stories that do not have proper backing to them. Obviously, that's why I open the show by discussing all of the questions that people seem to have about the Paul Pelosi attack and talking about what the police has said. And it seems to me that the police account is significantly more evidence at this point. And many of the theories about the attack on Paul Pelosi, he talked about the fact that people were worrying about the glass breaking out where, when you throw a hammer against plexiglass, it will tend to break outward, not inward in many cases. There are people who were suggesting there's a third person. How the third person got there? Why are they admitting somebody was this person trying to stop it? There was no third person who was misreporting by CBS News. There was the 911 phone call. And the dispatch operator telling the police was happening, and said that Pelosi had said there's a guy here named David and he's a friend. And so people are interpreting that as, he's a friend. Okay. Or it's possible. And theoretically, believable that Pelosi had a crazy person in front of him and was trying to calm the guy down while simultaneously on the phone with 911, not letting the crazy guy know that he was on the phone number. Okay. The reason, but this is being used now as an excuse for Elon Musk, is obviously very bad, because he tweeted out unverified information about the Paul Pelosi attack. So a couple of things had to be said about all this. One, the truth became fairly quickly evident, and Musk deleted his tweet, which suggests that the solution was not to ban the tweet in the first place. The solution was to allow people to critique the tweet, because they must remove the tweet. So people aren't left there using this as an example of we must ban information, we must make sure that there is no counter-narrative that gets out there. But the thing is this, once the information that was bad was put out there, it was hit so hard, they must took it down, which is theoretically the way that free speech is supposed to work. You say something dumb, everybody critiques you. And then you retract the dumb thing that you said. What the left would like to do is essentially pre-clear all speech. So you should ask the questions in the first place. Now when you do that, you end up with people asking more questions. When you say you're not allowed to post this story, if you post the story, we'll shut down your account. Well, people tend to do is they tend to believe, well, then I'm not gonna believe you because you're attempting to censor, you're attempting to prevent information from being disseminated. The best answer to bad and dumb speech is, in fact, when it comes to fora, like Twitter, more speech. But this is not the left take. Love's take is that they should be essentially policing what you can and cannot say. And here's the problem. All the people who maybe correctly were saying that Elon Musk was putting out a bad story yesterday. All those same people are perfectly fine with the media for years putting out bad information about COVID, putting out false information about a wide variety of topics. Totally fine with all that stuff. All of that propaganda stick nonsense that could go out there. But Elon Musk puts out a tweet about a link that he shouldn't put out. And this is evidence that free speech is no longer operative. So for example, you have an MSNBC guest named Suzanne Nozzle, who's raising alarm about free speech on Twitter, because if we allow people to say things, then you never know, free speech might be quashed by people saying things. Everyone listen to this. On social media platform that, as Elon says, is trying to create an environment for public discourse, a place where people of different ideological persuasions can come together and can reason. In order to do that, you need to create some parameters. We've learned that your speech in Twitter is not the same as a town square. It's algorithmically driven. We've seen that falsehoods travel faster than the truth on Twitter, that polarization can be stoked, that it's a weaponization of human nature. If you know that can be for good or for ill, we can celebrate something and we can go down a very dark path if that's where our nature draws us to. The algorithms fuel and supercharge that. And so I don't think the answer is a First Amendment approach. Try to adopt the constraints on government to a private platform like Twitter. It's weaponizing human nature to allow people to say the things that they want to say. It is not weaponizing human nature to give outsized power to a coterie of left-wing elites who will tell you what you can say. That, of course, we can trust them. We can trust them because they definitely will not quash information that is not to their political liking. They'll probably just promote true narratives. Like the narrative they've been promoting non-stop for days now, that every Republican is responsible for a nut job hitting Paul Pelosi with a hammer. That's it. Clearly that's the stuff that we need to disseminate, obviously, because otherwise, if we don't prevent the dissemination of bad information, how are we going to get our narrative out there? This is the stick with regard to Elon Musk and the left. It's why they're angry about Elon Musk opening up the spigots on speech, because they don't like a lot of the information has been distributed again. What they're going to do now is they're going to find the worst examples of people distributing information that's not true on one side of the aisle, and then they're going to pretend that everything they see is sweetness and light. And all the information they disseminate is absolutely true. By the way, they're also going to promote the narrative that they can call Elon Musk a unique threat to democracy. Elon Musk is an evil retrograde robber baron, and say whatever they want about him, and that's totally fine. But if you say Nancy Pelosi should not be Speaker of the House, somebody might go hit her husband with a hammer in his house. That's the way this works. You can say whatever you want about people on the right. You can suggest, as the president has, that those people are going to overthrow the country. And that's totally good. In fact, it's praiseworthy that the President of the United States says that stuff. But if you say the Nancy Pelosi is doing a bad job of speaker, man, you never know what that might set off. And we need to curb speech to prevent messages that we don't like from getting out. Well, there's sort of a fascinating exchange on Twitter between CEO Elon Musk and the Los Angeles Lakers LeBron James about racial slurs on the platform. So LeBron, who has in the past spread anti-Semitic nonsense of his own before retracting it, he was responding to a report in the Washington Post that claimed there'd been a 500% increase in the use of the N-word on Twitter, following Musk taking over several of the posts on 4chan encourage users to amplify derogatory slurs. The report said, suggesting the increase in the use of slurs may or may not have been completely organic, which the Post did not mention. That's what the study said. The Post did not say that. The Post instead suggested that there were just a ton of people who had suddenly randomly started saying the Edward James Twitter. First, don't know Elon Musk. And to be honest, I could care less about who owns Twitter. But I will say, if this is true, I hope he and his people take this very seriously, because this is scary. If so many unfit people saying hate speech is free speech. Well, I mean, technically speaking, hate speech is indeed a form of free speech. Because, again, things I don't like don't necessarily fall into the category of hate, even if we all agree that they are hateful. That does not mean that they're prosecutable or that they don't fall under the category of free speech, right? There are certain areas that don't fall under the defamation does not fall under free speech. Pornography does not fall under free speech. The problem with hate speech is it a vaguely defined term that can be twisted and turned and used anyway, by whoever cites the thing. By the way, for banning people for hate speech. Then back when LeBron James is talking about the Jewish money, he would have been banned from social media. Musk responded to James's tweet with a statement from Yorath, Twitter's head of safety and integrity, and said, "Nearly all these accounts are inauthentic. We've taken action to ban the users involved in this trolling campaign. We're going to continue working to address this in the days to come to make Twitter safe and welcoming for everyone." But again, the media are going to amplify all of this because they are so all fired, afraid that there might be a platform that they don't control the spigot of information to. They are terrified of all of that. It scares the living hell out of them. Alrighty guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. We'll be getting into Elon Musk and his continuing Twitter takeover, the media attacks on Twitter, plus Democrats trying to shift their angle of attack on the midterms away from democracy and away from January 6th, and more toward the economy. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to watch the next episode.